The great meeting hall of the Galactic Council had never seen such panic. Ambassador Zixathala's crystal body shimmered with fear as she stood before the assembled representatives of 47 peaceful species. Her voice cracked like breaking glass as she delivered the worst news in galactic history. "The Void Swarm has taken another system," she announced. "Kepler 442 is gone. All 3 billion gentlefolk who lived there have been consumed." The hall erupted in terrified whispers. The Void Swarm was supposed to be contained. The Great Barrier fleets were supposed to hold them back. But in just 6 months, 17 star systems had fallen to the hungry darkness that swept across space like a plague. Dr. Kalani, a tall blue-skinned scientist from the Peaceful Minds Alliance, stepped forward. Her forearms trembled as she activated her datapad. "The situation is worse than we thought. Our weapons are useless. Every time we fire at their bioships, they adapt. Energy weapons, kinetic rounds, plasma charges, nothing works twice." She projected images into the air above the assembly. The Void Swarm's ships looked like massive insects crossed with space vessels. They were alive, breathing, growing. Worst of all, they were learning. "They eat everything," Dr. Kalani continued. "Planets, asteroids, space stations. They break down matter at the molecular level and use it to make more of themselves. Our fleet commanders estimate we have maybe 2 years before they reach the core worlds." Elder Morvac of the Ancient Ones raised his wrinkled hand. "What about the defense platforms? The automated systems?" "Consumed and absorbed," Dr. Kalani replied. "They take our technology and make it part of themselves. Our own weapons are now being used against us." The assembly fell silent. For 3,000 years, the Galactic Council had maintained peace through diplomacy and careful resource management. Wars were ancient history. Their fleets were mostly for show, beautiful ships that rarely fired weapons in anger. They had no experience with something that wanted to eat them all. Commander Vrex of the Star Patrol spoke up, his reptilian features grim. "Our latest battle group lasted 12 minutes against a single swarm cluster. 12 minutes. These creatures fight like nothing we've ever seen. They coordinate across impossible distances. They sacrifice themselves without hesitation. It's like fighting pure hunger given form." Dr. Kalani looked around the room, seeing fear in every alien face. She had been thinking about this moment for weeks, knowing she would have to suggest the unthinkable. "There is one option we haven't considered." "Speak," ordered the council chairman, his tentacles writhing with anxiety. "The quarantine zone. Sol 3, the Deathworld species." The reaction was immediate and explosive. Representatives leaped to their feet, shouting in dozens of languages. The very mention of the forbidden system sent waves of terror through the assembly. "You cannot be serious," Elder Morvac gasped. "Those creatures are monsters." "They've been quarantined for good reason," added Commander Vrex. "The reports from the early scouts were horrifying. A world of constant violence, predators hunting predators, weather systems that could kill. The dominant species fights wars for sport." Dr. Kalani held up her hands for silence. "I've studied their intercepted transmissions for decades. Yes, they're violent. Yes, they're dangerous. But they understand war in ways we never could. They've been fighting for their entire evolutionary history." The chairman's voice was barely a whisper. "The quarantine protocols are absolute. No contact with Sol 3. Those are the oldest laws in the council." "Those laws were made when we had other options, Doctor," Kalani shot back. "Look at the projections. In 18 months, the swarm will reach Centauri Prime. In 2 years, they'll be here. Our children will be dissolved into organic soup to feed their reproduction cycles." She activated another projection, showing the steady advance of the Void Swarm across the galaxy. Red zones marked consumed systems growing larger every day. "The humans have something we don't," she continued. "They understand violence at a fundamental level. Their entire planet tried to kill them, so they learned to kill it back. They wage war with creativity we can't imagine. Maybe that's what we need." Ambassador Zixathala's crystal form flickered with uncertainty. "The early contact reports. They spoke of creatures that developed hundreds of ways to kill each other. Nuclear weapons before they reached their own moon. Biological warfare, chemical weapons, they poisoned their own air and water in their conflicts. Exactly, Dr. Kalani said. They've survived everything their world could throw at them, and everything they could throw at each other. If anyone can find a way to stop the swarm, it's them. The debate raged for hours. Ancient fears warred with desperate necessity. The humans had been quarantined because they were too dangerous to contact. But now, that danger might be their salvation. Finally, Elder Morvac spoke the words that changed galactic history. If we contact them, we may survive the swarm only to face something worse. If we don't contact them, Dr. Kalani replied, we won't survive at all. The vote was close. 24 species for contact, 23 against. By the smallest possible margin, the Galactic Council authorized the first transmission to Sol 3 in 300 years. Dr. Kalani worked for 3 days straight to prepare the message. She used their best translation algorithms, drawing on centuries of intercepted human broadcasts, to piece together their primitive language. The message had to be perfect. They would get only one chance. The transmission array was the most powerful in the galaxy, capable of reaching across thousands of light-years instantly. As Dr. Kalani prepared to send humanity's first official contact from the stars, her hands shook. Beings of Sol 3, she began, her words being converted into human language patterns. We are the Galactic Council of Peaceful Species. We have watched your world from afar for many years. We need your help. She transmitted everything: images of the void swarm, tactical data, the locations of consumed worlds. She showed them the bioships that adapted to every weapon, the hungry darkness spreading across the galaxy. We know you are warriors, the message continued. We know your world has made you strong. We are not strong. We do not know how to fight something that wants to eat us all. Please help us. Time is running out. The transmission lanced across space, carrying the hopes and fears of 47 species toward a small blue world, orbiting an unremarkable yellow star. On Earth, sleeping humans had no idea that their 300-year isolation was about to end. In the depths of space, the void swarm continued its relentless advance. Bioships pulsed with alien hunger as they stripped another asteroid field bare, adding its mass to their ever-growing fleet. They had consumed 17 civilizations, and they were just getting started. The galaxy held its breath and waited for the Deathworlders to answer. The Deep Space Communications Array in Chile had been listening to the stars for over 2 centuries. Most days, the operators heard nothing but cosmic background radiation and the occasional pulsar. On Tuesday morning, everything changed. Operator Martinez was drinking his 3rd cup of coffee when every screen in the facility lit up like Christmas. The quantum receivers were detecting a signal unlike anything in their databases. It wasn't coming from any known human source, and it was impossibly complex. Director Williams, Martinez shouted across the control room. You need to see this. Director Sarah Williams had been running the facility for 15 years. She'd seen solar flares, satellite malfunctions, and equipment failures. She'd never seen anything like the data streaming across her screens. This can't be right, she whispered, staring at the signal analysis. The complexity is off the charts. This is deliberate transmission using technology we don't even understand. The signal resolved into something impossible. A 3-dimensional hologram appeared in the center of the room. The operators stumbled backward as a crystalline being materialized before them, speaking in broken English with perfect pronunciation. Beings of Sol 3, we are the Galactic Council of Peaceful Species. For 27 minutes, the hologram spoke. It showed them images of space battles beyond imagination, bioships that consumed entire worlds, and 47 alien species begging Earth for help. When the transmission ended, the control room fell silent except for the hum of electronics. Director Williams was the first to find her voice. Get me President Martinez on the secure line. Right now. 3 hours later, Admiral Sarah Chen stood in the Pentagon briefing room, surrounded by the most powerful people on Earth. The alien transmission played on. Repeat as military analysts dissected every frame. The tactical data is extensive, Admiral Chen reported to President Martinez and the Joint Chiefs. These void swarm creatures use biological ships that adapt to weapons fire. They coordinate attacks across vast distances. Most importantly, they've never faced an opponent that thinks like us. General Rodriguez leaned forward. What do you mean, Admiral? These aliens fight clean wars, Chen explained. Look at their ship designs, beautiful, efficient, non-threatening. Their weapons are precise energy beams designed to disable, not destroy. They've had peace for 3,000 years. They've forgotten how to be vicious. She pulled up tactical analyses of the alien fleet movements. They engage the swarm head-on, using predictable formations. When their weapons stop working, they retreat and try the same tactics again. They're fighting by rules the enemy doesn't follow. President Martinez studied the images of consumed worlds. And you think we can do better? Mr. President, we've been fighting each other for our entire existence. We've developed over 300 different ways to kill effectively. We use guerrilla tactics, psychological warfare, and weapons designed specifically to cause maximum damage. We don't fight fair, we fight to win. Defense Secretary Johnson spoke up. What are the risks? We're talking about revealing ourselves to an entire galaxy. Admiral Chen activated another display. The risks of inaction are worse. If the swarm wins, they'll eventually find Earth anyway. Better to fight them now with allies than alone later. The room fell silent as everyone absorbed the implications. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe, and their new neighbors needed the one thing Earth had always excelled at: war. President Martinez made the decision that would define humanity's future. Admiral Chen, you have authorization for Operation Lighthouse. Prepare our fleets for interstellar deployment. The next 72 hours transformed human civilization. Shipyards that had been building system patrol vessels began retrofitting them with experimental FTL drives, based on technology reverse-engineered from the alien transmission. Scientists worked around the clock to decode the quantum mechanics that made faster-than-light travel possible. At Luna Station, Captain Rodriguez supervised the preparation of the UES Indomitable, humanity's newest heavy cruiser. The ship had been designed to fight pirates and asteroid miners. Now it was being equipped to battle alien bioships in deep space. The retrofitting is going faster than expected, Chief Engineer Patel reported. The alien transmission included enough technical data for us to build basic FTL drives. They're crude compared to what the aliens use, but they'll get us there. Rodriguez watched as technicians installed quantum communicators alongside traditional radio arrays. What about weapons? That's where it gets interesting, sir. Our kinetic weapons are actually more advanced than anything the aliens showed us. Their energy weapons are more elegant, but our railguns and missile systems are designed for pure destruction. The aliens build to disable, we build to kill. The captain nodded grimly. Good. If these swarm creatures adapt to weapons, we'll make sure we have plenty of different ways to hurt them. Meanwhile, Admiral Chen was assembling the largest military force in human history. Every nation contributed ships, turning humanity's scattered defense fleets into a unified armada. The Chinese contributed their new stealth destroyers. The European Federation provided their advanced carrier groups. The Americans added their heavy battle cruisers. Dr. Elizabeth Warren, Earth's leading xenobiologist, briefed the fleet commanders on what they might face. The Void Swarm appears to be a hive mind with individual units that can think independently. They're part biological, part technological. Most importantly, they seem to have no concept of self-preservation as individuals. Like insects? Asked Captain Smith of the UES Defiance. Worse, insects preserve the hive. These things seem willing to sacrifice anything for immediate tactical advantage. They'll ram their own ships into enemies if it helps the swarm as a whole. Admiral Chen studied the bioship images. Then we'll have to be more ruthless than they are. As the fleets prepared to depart, Earth's population watched the news with a mixture of excitement and terror. Humanity was about to take its place among the stars, but as warriors in someone else's war. The advance fleet launched first, 12 ships under Captain Rodriguez's command, equipped with the best Earth had to offer. Their mission was simple: make contact with the Galactic Council and assess the enemy. As the ships engaged their experimental FTL drives and vanished into hyperspace, everyone on Earth understood that nothing would ever be the same. Humanity was no longer alone, and the galaxy was about to learn what 3 billion years of evolution on a death world had created. Admiral Chen watched the departure from her flagship's bridge, knowing that the main fleet would follow in 48 hours. Humanity was going to war among the stars, carrying with them every hard lesson learned from millennia of conflict. The Void Swarm had consumed 17 civilizations that knew only peace. They were about to meet one that knew only war. The human advance fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Galactic Council territory, like ghosts materializing from nowhere. 12 ships appeared simultaneously, their crude FTL drives leaving quantum signatures that confused every sensor array in the sector. Commander Thex of the Council Defense Force was the first to detect them. His sensors showed vessels unlike anything in their databases, angular, aggressive designs covered in weapon ports and armor plating. Where Council ships curved gracefully through space, these newcomers looked like they were built for war. Unknown vessels. This is Commander Thex of the Galactic Council Defense Force. Please identify yourselves and state your intentions. The response came in clear, precise Council standard, though the accent was strange. Commander Thex, this is Captain Rodriguez of the United Earthship Indomitable. We received your distress call. We're here to help with your swarm problem. Thex's 4 eyes widened in shock. These were the Deathworlders, the quarantined species that the Council had spent 3 centuries avoiding. And they spoke his language perfectly. Captain Rodriguez, please maintain your current position. I'm dispatching escort vessels to guide you to the diplomatic station. As the Council ships approached, their crews got their first close look at human engineering. The UES Indomitable was half the size of a Council cruiser, but looked twice as dangerous. Its hull bristled with weapon systems that seemed designed for one purpose: killing efficiently. The diplomatic station was a masterpiece of Council architecture, elegant spires reaching toward the stars, filled with gardens and art galleries. It was designed to inspire peace and cooperation. The human ships looked completely out of place as they docked. Captain Rodriguez stepped onto the station wearing what the humans called a dress uniform, a sharp, military outfit that emphasized his rank and authority. Ambassador Zixthala had expected the Deathworlders to be small and primitive. Instead, she found herself looking up at a tall, muscular being with intelligent eyes that seemed to catalog every possible threat in the room. Ambassador, Rodriguez said, offering a formal bow. Thank you for breaking the quarantine to contact us. We understand you're facing an existential threat. Zixthala's crystal form shimmered with nervousness. The human's voice was calm and professional, but there was something underneath it, a readiness for violence that made her ancient instincts scream warnings. Captain Rodriguez, we weren't sure you would come. Your species has been isolated for so long. We've been watching, Rodriguez replied simply. We know about the Council, the peaceful species, the trade networks. We've just been waiting for someone to ask for our help. The briefing room filled with representatives from a dozen species as Rodriguez presented humanity's initial assessment. The aliens watched in fascination and horror as he described Earth's military capabilities. We've analyzed your tactical data, Rodriguez began, activating a holographic display. The Void Swarm's adaptation strategy is effective against opponents who fight predictably. They learn from each engagement and modify their responses. The solution is simple: don't be predictable. Dr. Kalani leaned forward. What do you mean? On Earth, we call it asymmetric warfare. You use different tactics, different weapons, different strategies in every engagement. Keep the enemy guessing. Never let them adapt completely because you're always changing. He showed them human battle formations, loose, flexible arrangements that could shift in seconds. Your fleets fight in perfect formations. Beautiful but predictable. Our ships operate independently while maintaining coordination. If one unit is destroyed, the others adapt immediately. Commander Thex studied the human tactical displays with growing amazement. This level of coordination requires incredible training. Rodriguez smiled grimly. Commander, humans have been perfecting the art of killing each other for over 10,000 years. We've had plenty of practice. The room fell silent at this casual mention of humanity's violent history. These beings spoke of warfare the way Council species discussed poetry. While the diplomats talked, the first human swarm engagement was already beginning at the front lines. Lieutenant Commander Sarah Kim commanded the destroyer UES Vengeful, leading a patrol near the contested Rigel system when swarm bioships appeared. The enemy vessels looked like massive insects crossed with spacecraft, organic hulls that pulsed with alien life, weapon ports that could reshape themselves in real time. 3 swarm hunters moved to intercept the human patrol. All ships, this is Vengeful, Kim commanded. Remember the briefing, stay unpredictable. Martinez, hit them with kinetics. Thompson, stand by with plasma charges. The UES Determined opened fire with its railgun batteries, sending tungsten slugs at a significant fraction of light speed toward the lead bioship. The creature's hull absorbed the impacts, its organic armor adapting to kinetic penetration. "It's learning," reported Captain Martinez, armor thickness increasing at impact points. "Thompson, you're up," Kim ordered. The UES Relentless fired its plasma torpedo banks, sending superheated charges into the same bioship. The creature's adapted kinetic armor proved useless against energy weapons. The plasma tore through its hull, causing massive damage, but the swarm learned fast. The second bioship's armor was already shifting, developing heat dissipation channels to handle energy weapons. "Kim, it's adapting to plasma," Thompson reported. Kim smiled coldly. "Then we improvise. All ships ramming speed, target the wounded one." The human tactic horrified the Council observers monitoring the battle. The UES Vengeful accelerated directly toward the damaged bioship, its armored prow aimed at the creature's central mass. At the last second, Kim ejected the ship's entire missile payload directly into the bioship's wounds and veered away. The explosion tore the first creature apart from the inside. The remaining swarm hunters paused, their adaptive algorithms struggling to process this new form of attack. In that moment of hesitation, the human ship struck again. Determined, hit the left one with everything we've got. Relentless emergency stop and reverse thrust confused their targeting. The battle became a display of controlled chaos. Human ships accelerated, decelerated, and changed direction in patterns that seemed random, but were actually carefully coordinated. The swarm creatures, designed to adapt to consistent threats, couldn't keep up with humanity's tactical flexibility. Within 30 minutes, all 3 bioships were destroyed. The human patrol had taken damage but suffered no losses. More importantly, they had demonstrated something the galaxy had never seen. The Void Swarm could be beaten. Back at the diplomatic station, the reports of the engagement were causing uproar among the Council representatives. Commander Thex stared at the tactical readouts in disbelief. "They won," he whispered. "The humans actually defeated swarm units in direct combat." Captain Rodriguez nodded calmly. Lieutenant Commander Kim used basic asymmetric tactics. Keep the enemy guessing, exploit their weaknesses, never give them time to fully adapt. Ambassador Zix Thala's crystal form was flickering rapidly with excitement and fear. But the risks they took, ramming attacks, close-range explosions, calculated risks, Rodriguez corrected. The bioships were adapting to our long-range weapons, so we got close enough that adaptation didn't matter. The Council representatives looked at each other with a mixture of hope and terror. The humans could win, but their methods were terrifying. These Deathworlders fought like nothing the peaceful galaxy had ever imagined. As reports continued to stream in from the front lines, one thing became clear. The Void Swarm had finally met an enemy that was more dangerous than they were. Admiral Sarachen's flagship, the UES Titan, dropped out of hyperspace, leading the largest human fleet ever assembled. 300 ships materialized in perfect formation, their arrival timed to coincide with the Void Swarm's major offensive against the Centauri defense line. The sight of the human armada stunned the Council observers. Where their own fleets moved in graceful, predictable patterns, the human ships seemed to flow like schools of predatory fish. They maintained formation while somehow looking ready to scatter at a moment's notice. "Admiral Chen," came Captain Rodriguez's voice over the quantum communicator. "The swarm has launched their largest assault yet. They're hitting Centauri Prime with over 400 bioships." Chen studied the tactical display on her bridge. The Void Swarm was throwing everything at the Council's most important world. It was time to show the galaxy what humanity could really do. "All ships, this is Admiral Chen. We're implementing the Deathworld Doctrine. You know what that means." Across the human fleet, crew members secured their stations and checked their equipment. The Deathworld Doctrine wasn't just a battle plan, it was humanity's way of bringing Earth's most dangerous lessons to the stars. The first wave of swarm bioships encountered something they had never faced before: coordinated chaos. Human destroyers scattered in seemingly random directions, firing different weapons with each pass. When the bioships adapted to kinetic rounds, the humans switched to plasma. When plasma stopped working, they used fusion missiles. When missiles failed, they rammed. But Admiral Chen had something special prepared. Earth's best scientists had spent months studying the alien bioships, learning how they functioned. Now it was time to apply Earth's expertise in biological warfare. "Launch the Darwin package," Chen ordered. From specially modified torpedo tubes, human ships fired what looked like standard missiles. But these weapons carried something the galaxy had never seen. Engineered viruses based on Earth's most aggressive diseases, modified to attack the swarm's biological components. The bioships that absorbed these weapons expecting to gain new capabilities instead found their organic systems under attack. Modified versions of Earth's worst plagues began breaking down their biological functions from the inside. Dr. Elizabeth Warren, monitoring the battle from the medical bay, watched with grim satisfaction as her work proved effective. The viral loads are spreading through their network. They're trying to adapt, but we used 17 different virus families. They can't counter them all. The second phase of the Deathworld doctrine was even more ruthless. Human ships began using tactics that horrified the Council observers. They deliberately damaged their own vessels to create debris fields, then used the wreckage as improvised weapons. They overloaded their reactors to create massive explosions, timing the detonations to maximize damage to enemy formations. Captain Williams of the UES Defiant demonstrated humanity's willingness to sacrifice for victory. When 3 bioships cornered his destroyer, he directed all power to engines and rammed the largest one at full speed. The impact destroyed his ship but crippled the bioship long enough for other human vessels to finish it off. "Williams!" Admiral Chen's voice cracked over the communicator. "Report!" "Defiant's gone, Admiral," came the reply from an escape pod. "But we took the bastard with us. Worth it." The casual acceptance of such losses shocked the alien observers. Council species fought to preserve every life, every ship. Humans seemed willing to trade anything for tactical advantage. But the most terrifying aspect of the Deathworld doctrine was how it used the swarm's own adaptations against them. The bioships were designed to learn from each encounter, incorporating new technologies and strategies into their collective knowledge. The humans exploited this. "Initiate protocol Trojan Horse," Chen commanded. Human ships began using deliberately flawed tactics, allowing the swarm to capture damaged vessels. But these ships contained more than just technology. They held carefully crafted information designed to confuse and misdirect the hive mind. The captured data included false tactical information, corrupted sensor readings, and modified technical specifications. As the swarm incorporated this knowledge, their own tactics became increasingly ineffective. Lieutenant Commander Kim, now commanding the heavy cruiser UES Relentless, watched as swarm bioships tried to use human ramming tactics, but miscalculated their approach speeds. The creatures had learned the action but not the precise physics behind it. "They're using our own moves against us," her tactical officer reported, "but they're doing it wrong." "That's the point," Kim replied. "We gave them just enough truth to make them confident, but not enough to make them effective." The battle raged across 3 star systems as Admiral Chen deployed every dirty trick humanity had ever learned. The humans used gravity wells as weapons, redirecting asteroids into swarm formations. They exploited solar radiation, using stellar flares to disable bioship sensors. They even used psychological warfare, broadcasting recordings of Earth's apex predators to trigger whatever passed for fear in the hive mind. Council Captain Vrex, observing from his ship at a safe distance, couldn't believe what he was witnessing. "They're not just fighting," he reported to his superiors. "They're hunting. They act like predators cornering prey, and that was exactly what they were doing." Human tactical doctrine wasn't based on clean, honorable combat. It was based on millions of years of evolution that had turned them into apex predators. They fought like wolves bringing down a mammoth, coordinated, patient, and absolutely ruthless. The turning point came when Admiral Chen deployed her most dangerous weapon, human creativity under pressure. When standard tactics failed, her crews improvised. They turned mining equipment into weapons, used cargo containers as kinetic projectiles, and jury-rigged damaged systems into new configurations. The swarm's adaptation abilities, so effective against predictable enemies, became a liability against opponents who invented new solutions in real time. Every time the bioships learned to counter a human tactic, the humans had already moved on to something else. "Admiral," reported her communications officer, "we're getting reports from across the battle zone. The swarm formations are breaking up. They're retreating." For the first time in 6 months, the Void Swarm was pulling back. The creatures that had consumed 17 civilizations were running from a fight. Admiral Chen allowed herself a small smile. All ships pursue and harass. Don't let them regroup. Apply continuous pressure. As the human fleet gave chase, the Council observers struggled to process what they had witnessed. The Deathworlders hadn't just defeated the swarm, they had made it look almost easy. How? Ambassador Zixthala whispered, her crystal form dim with shock. How did they do what we couldn't? Captain Rodriguez, monitoring the pursuit from his command ship, answered simply, We fight like we evolved to fight. Not for glory or territory, but for survival. And on Earth, only the most dangerous creatures survive. The Void Swarm was about to learn why Earth's quarantine had been necessary. They thought they were the galaxy's ultimate predators. They were wrong. The Nexus system had been beautiful once. 3 inhabited worlds orbited a stable star, home to billions of the galaxy's most peaceful species. Now it was the Void Swarm's primary breeding ground. A nightmare of organic growth and twisted bioships that stretched across the entire system. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Titan, studying the massive fleet assembled before her. 800 human ships had been joined by 300 council vessels crewed by volunteers who had learned to follow human tactical doctrine. It was the largest military force in galactic history, preparing for what would be the final battle. Sensor report, she ordered. Ma'am, came the reply from Lieutenant Torres. We're detecting over 2,000 bioships of various sizes. The largest ones are planet killers, bigger than anything we've seen before. And, Admiral, they're building something around the star itself. The main display showed the horror of what the swarm had created. Massive organic structures wrapped around the Nexus star like parasitic roots, drawing energy directly from nuclear fusion. At the center of this stellar parasite, something enormous was taking shape. Dr. Warren's voice came over the intercom from the science section. Admiral, I'm reading massive genetic activity from that central structure. They're not just breeding normal bioships, they're creating something new. Something bigger. Captain Rodriguez joined the conference from his flagship. Intel suggests they're making a Queen-class organism. If it reaches maturity, it could spawn 1,000 bioships per day. Admiral Chen nodded grimly. The swarm wasn't just defending their breeding ground. They were racing to complete their ultimate weapon before the human armada could stop them. All ships. This is Admiral Chen. The target is that stellar structure. We're not just here to defeat the swarm. We're here to end them permanently. This is Operation Final Cut. The plan was typical human audacity mixed with scientific precision. Instead of fighting through 2,000 bioships to reach the central structure, they would use the swarm's greatest strength against them. Dr. Warren, are the special packages ready? Chen asked. Yes, Admiral. We've loaded 50 ships with enhanced Darwin packages. But this version is different. It's designed to spread through their hive mind network, not just individual bioships. The enhanced virus would do more than damage swarm biology. It would corrupt their communication systems, turning their greatest advantage into a fatal weakness. The battle began with humanity's signature move, controlled chaos. The human fleet scattered across the system in seemingly random patterns, forcing the swarm to divide their forces. But every movement was carefully coordinated, drawing bioships away from the central structure. Phoenix Squadron, engage the left flank. Admiral Chen commanded. Dragon Squadron, hit them from below. Remember, we're not trying to win quickly. We're trying to get them all in one place. The Volunteer Council ships, now painted with human military markings, followed their human partners into battle. Captain Thex, commanding a modified Council cruiser, watched in amazement as his crew performed maneuvers that would have been impossible months ago. Concentrate fire on Grid 7 Alpha, his human tactical advisor instructed. When they adapt, switch to Grid 7 Beta. The Council ship's weapons switched from energy beams to kinetic projectiles to plasma charges in rapid succession. The bioships trying to adapt to their attacks couldn't keep up with the constant changes. As the battle raged, Admiral Chen watched the tactical display with cold calculation. The swarm was doing exactly what she wanted, pulling bioships from across the galaxy to defend their breeding ground. Every creature in the Nexus system represented the last of their species. Admiral, reported her communications officer, all 50 special package ships are in position. Good. Begin Phase 2. The second phase of Operation Final Cut was the most dangerous gambit in human military history. 50 ships, their crews already evacuated to escape pods, began ramming attacks against the largest bioships. But these weren't simple kinetic impacts. Each ship carried a fusion reactor set to overload and thousands of enhanced virus packages designed to spread through the swarm's communication network. As the ships penetrated deep into bioship hulls before exploding, they delivered their deadly cargo directly into the creature's neural centers. The effect was immediate and catastrophic. Bioships that had been fighting in perfect coordination suddenly began attacking each other. The virus corrupted their shared consciousness, turning the hive mind against itself. "It's working," Dr. Warren shouted over the intercom. "The neural cascade is spreading through their network. They're losing cohesion." But the swarm's final gambit was already in motion. The stellar parasite began pulsing with massive energy discharges, feeding power to the growing queen creature at its center. If it completed its development, it could potentially rebuild the entire swarm even if every other bioship was destroyed. Admiral Chen made the hardest decision of her career. "All ships, this is Admiral Chen. We're implementing Protocol Omega." Protocol Omega was humanity's ultimate weapon, not a device or system, but a willingness to sacrifice everything for victory. The entire human fleet would ram the stellar structure simultaneously, using their fusion reactors to destabilize the star itself. "Admiral," Captain Rodriguez protested, "that's suicide for everyone in the system." "The escape pods will reach minimum safe distance," Chen replied. "Barely. But if we don't stop that queen creature now, the entire galaxy dies." The order went out across 800 human ships. Crews began evacuating to escape pods while setting their vessels on collision courses with the stellar parasite. The volunteer council ships received the same orders, their alien crews showing courage that would have been impossible before they learned to fight like humans. "This is Captain Kim of the UES Relentless," came a voice over the fleet channel. "It's been an honor serving with you all. See you on the other side." 800 ships accelerated toward the star, their crews already in escape pods racing away from the system at maximum speed. The bioships tried to intercept them, but the viral corruption had spread too far. Half the swarm was fighting the other half, their perfect coordination shattered. The impacts came in a precisely timed sequence. 800 fusion reactors detonated simultaneously against the stellar parasite, their combined energy output equivalent to a small supernova. The organic structure wrapped around the star began to collapse, its biological components unable to withstand the massive energy release. But the real destruction came from what the human ships had carried into the star itself. Enhanced fusion charges designed to destabilize stellar nuclear processes. The star began to fluctuate wildly, its energy output spiking beyond anything the swarm's biology could absorb. From their escape pods, the human and council crews watched as the Nexus star went supernova in slow motion. The stellar explosion tore through the swarm's fleet like a wave of pure destruction. Bioships that had survived millions of years of evolution were reduced to component atoms in seconds. The queen creature, so close to completion, dissolved in the stellar fire along with every trace of swarm biology in the system. The explosion created a shock wave that would be visible from 1,000 light-years away, a beacon announcing the end of the galaxy's greatest threat. Admiral Chen's escape pod was picked up by a council rescue ship 3 days later. She was unconscious but alive, her pod's life support systems having barely kept her breathing in the aftermath of the stellar explosion. When she woke up in the medical bay, Captain Rodriguez was waiting for her with a status report. "Admiral, the swarm is gone." "All of them. Our sensors aren't detecting any bioship activity anywhere in the galaxy." She nodded weakly. "Casualties? Surprisingly light. Most crews made it to escape pods. We lost about 200 people total. For ending a galactic extinction event, 200 deaths was almost impossibly low. Any other species would have lost tens of thousands." 2 weeks later, Admiral Chen stood before the reformed Galactic Council aboard their new station. The representatives of 47 species looked at her with a mixture of gratitude and fear. "Admiral Chen," Ambassador Zixthala began, "the Council wishes to thank humanity for our salvation. Your species has proven itself the galaxy's greatest warriors." Chen nodded formally. "The swarm is extinct. Your worlds are safe. Earth seeks peaceful relations with all Council species. And we welcome humanity to the galactic community," the ambassador replied, "though we confess we're not entirely sure what that means anymore." The truth was obvious to everyone in the room. The power balance of the galaxy had shifted permanently. The peaceful species that had ruled for millennia now lived under the protection of apex predators from a death world. As Admiral Chen prepared to return to Earth, she understood that humanity's greatest challenge lay ahead. They had proven they could destroy any threat to galactic peace. Now they had to prove they could choose not to. The Deathworlders had saved the galaxy. Whether the galaxy was safer with them as protectors than it had been with the swarm as predators remained to be seen.